Have you ever looked around and wondered what makes a bird different from a rock or a tree different from the wind? It's a fantastic question. Our world, this amazing planet Earth, is filled with a dazzling variety of things. Some are alive and some are not. We call all the living things together the living world. It's a world buzzing with activity, from the tiniest germ you can't even see to the biggest blue whale swimming in the ocean. Understanding the difference between what's living and what's non-living is the very first step in exploring the science of life, which we call biology. So, let's put on our science goggles and take a closer look. On one hand, you have things like mountains, rivers, clouds, and your favorite toy. These are non-living. They don't need to eat, they don't grow in the same way living things do, and they don't have babies. They are fascinating and important. After all, where would a fish be without a river? But they don't have that special spark we call life. On the other hand, we have the living world. This includes you, your dog, the flowers in the garden, the mushrooms popping up after a rain, and the bacteria on your skin. All these things are called organisms. The sheer variety is mind-boggling. From a single-celled amoeba to a giant redwood tree, life has found a way to thrive in almost every corner of our planet. This journey into the living world is one of the most exciting adventures you can take. We're going to explore what those special rules of life are and how scientists study this incredible diversity. Understanding the difference between living and non-living is the very foundation of biology. So, let's get started. The world of biology is calling, and there are secrets to unlock. So, what's the secret recipe for life? What are the key ingredients that all living things share? One of the most important is something called metabolism. That's a big word, but it's a simple idea. Think of it like this. You eat food, right? Your body breaks down that food to get energy to run, jump, think, sleep. That process of turning food into energy and building blocks for your body is metabolism. Plants do it too. Sunlight, water, air. They use those to make their own food through photosynthesis. It's like every living thing has a tiny chemical factory inside it, constantly working to build things up and break things down. Another key feature is the ability to respond to the environment. If you touch a hot stove, you pull your hand away, fast. A plant in a dark room will bend and grow toward a window to find sunlight. That's also a response. Even a tiny bacterium will swim away from a dangerous chemical and toward food. This ability to sense and react is called responsiveness or irritability. All living things are also made of one or more cells. Cells are the basic building blocks of life. Some organisms, like bacteria, are just one single cell. Others, like humans, elephants, oak trees, are made of trillions of cells all working together in a coordinated team. These cells contain all the instructions in a molecule called DNA and the machinery needed to carry out the functions of life. Finally, living things maintain a stable internal environment, a concept known as homeostasis. Imagine it's a hot day. You start to sweat. That sweat evaporates and cools you down, keeping your body temperature from getting too high. When it's cold, you shiver, and those muscle contractions generate heat to warm you up. Your body is constantly making these small adjustments to keep internal conditions just right. This self-regulating ability is a hallmark of life. A rock can't do that. It just gets as hot or as cold as its surroundings. These characteristics, metabolism, responsiveness, cellular organization, and homeostasis, are what separate the living from the non-living. Every living thing, from the smallest bacterium to the largest whale, shares these fundamental properties. They are the universal rules of life. But life doesn't stop there. Living things also grow and develop in remarkable ways. They reproduce to continue their species, and eventually they age and die, completing the cycle of life. Let's explore these processes in detail. One of the most visible signs of life is growth. Living things grow, but their growth is very different from how a non-living thing might get bigger. Let's take a plant, for example. A tiny seed sprouts, and over time, it grows into a big tree. This growth comes from the inside. The plant uses energy from its metabolism to make new cells, increasing its size and changing its form. It goes through predictable stages, from a seedling to a mature fruit-bearing tree. Now, let's compare that to a sand mound on a beach. A sand mound can also get bigger, right? The wind blows more sand onto it, and the mound grows in size. But is it alive? No, this is growth by accretion, or adding material to the outside. The sand mound isn't using energy to create new parts of itself. Living things also go through development, which is more than just getting bigger. Think of a caterpillar. It hatches from an egg, eats leaves, and grows bigger. That's growth. And then it transforms into a chrysalis. Inside, it completely reorganizes its body and emerges as a beautiful butterfly. That amazing transformation is development. These are predictable, complex changes that are programmed into the organism's life. And just as life has a beginning and a middle, it also has an end. All living things experience aging, or senescence. This is the gradual decline in the body's functions over time. As an organism gets older, its ability to repair itself slows down, its metabolism may become less efficient, and it becomes more vulnerable to disease. While a rock might erode over thousands of years due to wind and rain, it doesn't age in the biological sense. Aging is an active, internally driven process that is part of the grand, finite story of an individual life. Growth, development, aging, and death. These are the chapters in every living thing's story. But there's one more crucial chapter: reproduction, the ability to create new life and ensure that the story continues. A truly amazing feature of life is reproduction, the ability of living things to make more of their own kind. A cat has kittens, a bird lays eggs that hatch into chicks, and an apple tree produces seeds that can grow into new apple trees. But here's a fascinating twist. Does every single living thing have to reproduce to be considered alive? Think about mules. Mules are strong, hard-working animals, and they are most definitely alive. They eat, they grow, they respond to their environment. But because of their mixed genetics, they are sterile, meaning they cannot have babies of their own. Their inability to reproduce doesn't suddenly make them non-living. We see this in the insect world too. In a honeybee hive, only the queen bee lays eggs. The thousands of worker bees are sterile, but clearly alive. With millions of different species on Earth, how do scientists even begin to study them all? To solve this, scientists use a process called classification, or taxonomy, to group living things based on their similarities. One of the oldest and most important tools is the herbarium, a library for plants. Instead of books, it holds dried, pressed, preserved plant specimens mounted on sheets of paper. Each sheet includes the plant itself, along with its scientific name, family, collection location, date, and collector's name. While herbaria are for preserved plants, botanical gardens are for living ones. They are living laboratories where scientists work on identifying plants, studying how they grow, and conserving rare species. One famous example is the Great Banyan tree in Kolkata, a single tree that looks like an entire forest, covering a massive area with thousands of supporting roots. What about animals? That's where zoological parks, or zoos, come in. Modern zoos participate in breeding programs for endangered species, with the ultimate goal of reintroducing them back into the wild. Finally, we have museums, repositories of preserved specimens that allow us to study extinct species and compare anatomy across different species. The incredible variety of life has a special name: biodiversity. It refers to all the different kinds of life: animals, plants, fungi, and microorganisms. Think of an ecosystem as a giant, complex machine. Each species has a specific job. Bees pollinate flowers, earthworms turn over soil, fungi decompose dead matter, returning nutrients to the soil. Since biodiversity is so important, we must protect it. The science and practice of protecting Earth's biodiversity is called conservation. The biggest threats are habitat loss, pollution, climate change, and invasive species. When we cut down forests to build cities, build farms, we destroy the homes of countless plants and animals. Plastic waste chokes our oceans, harming sea turtles and whales. Our burning of fossil fuels releases greenhouse gases that cause global climate change. The polar bear, which depends on sea ice to hunt seals, is a famous symbol of a species threatened by a warming world. Scientists use two main strategies for conservation. The first is called in situ conservation, protecting species in their natural habitats. Create protected areas like national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves. India's protected areas help save iconic species like tiger, Asian elephant, one-horned rhinoceros. The second strategy is ex situ conservation, off-site protection, botanical gardens, zoos, seed banks. Seed banks store seeds from thousands of plant varieties at very low temperatures. If a plant goes extinct in the wild, we can potentially regrow it from stored seeds. Tropical rainforests and coral reefs are known as biodiversity hotspots because they are teeming with species found nowhere else on Earth. The Western Ghats mountain range in India is one such hotspot, home to thousands of unique plant and animal species. Biodiversity loss is like playing Jenga. You can pull out a few blocks and the tower stays standing, but if you pull out too many, the whole thing comes crashing down. Humans have a bigger impact on biodiversity than any other species. There is a strong moral reason for conservation. Every species has a right to exist. We also depend on healthy ecosystems for our survival. Forests produce oxygen, wetlands filter water, bees pollinate our food. When we lose biodiversity, we dismantle our own life support system. Conserving nature isn't just for animals and plants, it's for us. But here is the most important part. Just as we are the main cause, we can also be the solution. There is hope. Around the world, people are working to protect and restore biodiversity. Simple actions, when done by millions, can have a huge impact. Reducing waste, planting native trees, conserving water, conserving electricity, supporting businesses that care about the environment. Learning about the living world is the first step. When we understand how interconnected life is and how much we depend on it, we are more likely to care. Every one of us has a role to play in protecting our planet's incredible biodiversity. The future of biodiversity is in our hands. It's a great responsibility, but also a great opportunity to build a better, more sustainable future for all living things, including ourselves. The living world is extraordinary, complex, and precious. By understanding and protecting it, we ensure that this amazing story of life continues for generations to come.